Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. My name is Shay Douglas, and today I'm joined with Dennis O'Connor from Awakening in Health. And today we're going to cover the biggest crisis threat that humanity has faced ever in human history and why it's relevant for today. I was searching through the web and come across an article from the ABC recently here in Australia that posted an article 3 days ago talking about male fertility rates and how everyday chemicals are actually destroying sperm count in humans and in animals. It was in 2020, January 1st, where I was sitting with Dr. Bruce Lipton, who suggested this idea that we are in the sixth mass extinction of life on this planet, of human life on this planet. And one of the greatest existential threats that we face as a human species is the fertility rates, sperm count in male decreasing. So in today's episode, Dennis and I are going to uncover and unpack how we can turn the tide on this story, change the narrative, and step into optimal health, optimal wellness, what solutions you can put in place to increase your sperm count, in fact, and look at some of the positive solutions, as well as unpacking this article that we've stumbled across. I'll pull it up in a moment, but I just want to thank you, Dennis, for joining me. And of course, thank you to the viewers for watching. We really appreciate you guys when you comment. If you got any questions, we like to keep this as an open dialogue. Please like this video if you got something out of it. And if you want to get notified on videos coming up, we usually do these every week. Just click the little bell notification settings and you'll get notified when the next video is out. Otherwise, Dennis, how you doing, mate? What's your feedback on this article around male fertility?
Yep, I'm very, very good. And I think you have quite rightly identified the enormity of the impending crisis. And it's actually something that I've been speaking about for a few years. And it just seems to be kind of getting worse and worse, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm just going to pull up this article, the male fertility, and I'm interested on your perspective on how chemicals are destroying sperm count. Like, is it really that bad? Are there that many chemicals that we're susceptible to? You know, like how bad is this?
It is absolutely horrendous. And again, it's good that these articles are coming to the fore, but unfortunately, I kind of think it's all. I mean, I guess it's never too late to be hearing about these things, but this has been a crisis that's been emerging for the last 20 or 30 years. And certainly over that kind of period of time, we've had numerous different resources and articles that are showing that in most Western countries, our replacement rate for a population is actually insufficient. So in other words, we've got the mainstream media pushing this agenda of this brutal overpopulation all around the world, but the statistics just don't bear that out. The statistics are showing us that the population rate is actually on an incline in most countries, bar one or two, and in fact that's with our current rates of population, it's just going to go down regardless. And then we've got a lot of other different reports, and I've seen these reports going back since, I don't know, 10, 15 years about this declining sperm count. And I've even seen a couple of recent reports that are showing that our sperm count in some areas is down by up to 50%. And if we think of this massive emergence of all these fertility clinics, which has just become this massive business, we never needed these clinics 20, 30, 40 years ago. They're kind of often as a focus on female fertility, obviously, but the emphasis on male fertility is, I think, just almost, it's very understated, and it's a huge concern.
Yeah, it's great to see these articles coming to the forefront, but it can be a little bit concerning because what the article suggests, if male sperm count is lower, it threatens our ability to reproduce and have babies, create children. And so it's quite challenging. And I'm interested to hear your perspective on what, your perception is around this, this war that might potentially be going on towards masculinity. You know, like we see in the mainstream media a lot of toxic masculinity, which primarily, you know, they suggest has to do with the way that, in terms of sexuality and the way that we objectify women and all of these things. But does it go deeper than that? How does that look from your lens?
The great question. And we have, I guess it's almost, I think, important to kind of separate out a few of the different issues to begin with. And we have, and we talk about this regularly, about this absolutely huge onslaught of toxicity that's in our environment. And it's something I know that you're very passionate about, especially when it comes to nature and how plants and how animals, our flora and fauna are affected. But these assaults on our physical being are absolutely everywhere. And again, one of the focuses of when I'm trying to help people to make improvements in their health is just these simple little themes of trying to detoxify your life. And another thing which I continually get frustrated at, that's completely understated, is just this little theme that if you can't eat it, don't put it on your skin. So we have all these products, we have all these sprays, we have all these different things which are loaded with different sorts of chemicals. And these combinations of chemicals, we essentially have no idea what they're doing. And then you add into this or unnatural kind of forms of the cutlery, the plates that we're eating off, the clothes we're wearing, the sprays in our environment, the pesticides, the herbicides, and then you throw into that the stuff that's actually being taken into our bodies through the things that we eat. So processed foods are hugely complicit in this kind of destruction. And that, I think, we can partition in one kind of separate area. But the other thing which I see, and it's been very blatant over, I think, more so over the last 15 to 20 years, is also this attack on the perceptual concept of masculinity itself. And it seems to be that there is a war waged, especially if you throw the word white into the mix. Toxic white male masculinity, but definitely on male masculinity itself. And there seems to be this an overt kind of attack on males standing in a masculine type strength and in a masculine type role. And it's almost like this should be kind of shunned and put down in some way. And I really find this to be very subtle, but extremely, extremely distasteful. And I certainly am of the view that as males, we can stand in our masculinity and we can promote this, and we can put this on a pedestal and align this with female, with our love for female, for the female form and the female being, without having those derogatory aspects thrown into it. And it's also makes it very confusing when you have things like pornography and this sexualization of women just thrown in everybody's faces. So on the one hand, if we are objectifying women, we're getting crucified. But on the other hand, we're kind of pushed this X-rated and soft porn material just everywhere we look.
Yeah, it's almost difficult to turn a blind eye to it when it's everywhere. It's on every screen, it's on every billboard, it's everywhere we turn. And it's interesting times that we live in, and there's so many like layers to it all, and unpacking the toxicity just in our environment, from, like you said, the air, the water, the food, the clothing, the sprays, the chemicals, everything that we find in our immediate environment, even the psychological warfare and the way that we view one another. And so it's super fascinating times that we're living in, and then reading these studies and researching the paperwork that's coming out around the fertility rates and the harm that is exemplified through the sperm count. It becomes very evident that there's something needs to change. Essentially, there needs to be a big kind of shifting revolution. But what does that actually look like? How do we regain control of the direction of our lives as individuals, but also, like you said, it's everywhere in our environment. It's on all the screens. It's through all the social medias. It's through all of the platform in terms of this stuff called porn and all the chemicals. Are we doomed? The predictions that people are coming out with don't suggest to be very positive around what the direction we're heading in terms of, our sperm count, as a simple example. But what does it take for a man to be able to step back into their power, reclaim their life, live an honorable life, and walk with these like really positive character traits like nobility or or integrity. And in a world where in the past it would have been in the hunter-gatherer age, we would have had these warriors, these men stepping up for their community, stepping in for the battle, and really proving themselves through the physical actions. A lot of that has been stripped away from us in the modern day age, where we, yes, maybe we have to be providers in a sense, but women are also working, and there's this big movement for equality. And what does it look like in today's day and age for a man to live in these positive characteristic traits?
Yeah, again, very, very complex question, and so many different facets to that, which I'll probably only end up addressing a few of them because it is so complex. But I think one of the things that is very unfortunate is this is the fact that we have been trained to become avid consumers. And because we've been trained to be avid consumers, we need a whole industry built around this consumerism. And essentially consuming and being consumers is a way of taking our time, our attention, and our money. And this has been clearly stated out over the centuries that it's a way of controlling the hordes and controlling the masses. And you and me, Shay, are part of these hordes and masses that the people who are controlling the world look at. So if our attention is divided, and again, especially we have all these divisions in society. So we have, the feminist movement, we have Black Lives Matter, we have, white supremacists, black versus white. We have all these schisms and divisions in life. And in my life, and I think in your life, I don't see this firsthand. I see this thrown at me just through corporate media. So when I'm on the street, I'm talking to people of different colors as I would to you, and I see you doing this vice versa. We have this kind of intrinsic respect, and I don't think things are painted quite as grim. In the same way, we certainly do have, bullying and sexualization and horrible things perpetuated between sexes, but it's not the norm, I think. I think it's the extreme. So we do have not the best of male role models, especially when you look at things like sports playing and some of the cultures in some of those, what we consider those masculine areas. And again, they are not very, very productive. So for identifying a lot of those breakdowns, I think it's really important for people. You're certainly setting a brilliant example, Shay, with what you do with your passion through wanting to promote this love and this care for Earth and humanity. I think some of the stuff that I do in relation to trying to promote a good health is we have to, I think, step back and question, and I mean seriously question this I feel blatant corrupted narrative that we are being given by corporate media. And essentially this is made to keep us in fear, to sensationalize everything, and it creates these very false, I feel, dichotomies which people buy into. And I'm going to throw a little kind of left of field kind of curveball there. If we base everything on a population of consumerism, this whole equality movement, especially this feminist equality that came in from the about 1920s onwards and became more pervasive, more progressive, was simply a way of getting another half of the population into paying taxes. So there was a whole half of the population that were staying at home and nurturing children and doing lots of things supportive to families. The feminine part of the population was sold this idea that to rise up to a corporate level and to take control, etc., was somehow something to be aspired to. But essentially, as far as the rulers of the world are concerned, they have essentially, fooled a huge part of the population into being more taxpayers. I've lost your audio there, Shay. Yeah, you got you back.
We're back. Super interesting perspective to look at that in terms of dropping into the taxes. Yeah, it's super interesting. But bringing it back to the concern in that day and age today around infertility in men and the infertility potentially in women being an existential threat to human existence at this moment. What can we do to really empower others, our fellow comrades, our warrior men out there, to just embody more healthier options in their lifestyle and their choices and the food they eat? Or it seems like it's very difficult to escape the toxic in the toxic chemicals that we find in the air. And I guess there's simple solutions like eating organic or getting natural sunlight. But is there any anything specific that you would really emphasize the significance of really practicing on a day-to-day basis?
Absolutely. And my diet is essentially about 80-20 organic, and I do like eating out. So it's kind of impossible to stick to that rule if you're eating out, but I try and eat at home organic most of the time. And I think that's incredibly important. We've talked about this before, but vitamin D works with everything. It makes everything work, including your sexual hormone production. So ensuring that you are getting out into nature and exposing yourself to sunlight is absolutely vital. Taking time off from stress. So again, part of the message that I was kind of putting up before was this bombardment that we're getting through corporate media. But if we weren't looking at our phones 24 hours a day on our computers, we would be reducing our stress levels. And stress plays an important part of how everything works, including our sexual function. I kind of have serious. I mean, I honestly, if I was a young guy today, I don't know how I would navigate in this area where we're kind of told in some European countries now we're going to have a nap that shows that a woman can have consent before you have a physical relationship with her. So I mean, what the hell? That is just loaded up with so much danger, and it's got so many aspects to that which could be utilized negatively. I mean, I maybe you're from a slightly different age bracket as yourself, but I mean, back when I was a bit younger, women saw an approach from a guy as a sign of respect, if it was done respectfully. This, and again, we've got that paradox of now, even though we have all this sexuality thrown in our faces, if we say something about it, apparently it's in some way almost a form of rape. So and then we had women 20, 30 years ago being much more discreet, but if you gave them a compliment, it was never seen as that. So I think standing in your kind of truth and in your strength is really important. And another thing I think is also really important is for healthier males to act as positive role models. And it's those, I guess, maybe very macho, masculine guys who are, and I think that's a really small cohort, it's a small niche, who are not treating women well. Those guys need to be stepping out of those less than favorable ways of doing things, and they need to be setting a better example.
Yeah, I totally agree. That's fantastic. Thanks, Dennis. I'm curious to dive into this a little bit deeper in terms of who's constructing these narratives that are potentially being quite detrimental and harmful for young men in today's world, and how we can shift that narrative, what it takes, and really just going a little bit deeper into this conversation. Obviously, with the platforms that we're sharing this to, mostly YouTube and also Facebook, that there has become known that it can be censored at times. You don't necessarily always have the freedom of sharing what our truth is. And so given the circumstances, we're going to take this conversation a little bit deeper and really go into, where does this all stem from? What's the core origin root of this problem that we find today around infertility, and go look at it from the root source so that we can uproot it, replant into that void, and grow healthier examples, healthier opportunities, and a positive story for men and women moving forward in today's day and age. So the link is in the description to join us for that part 2 conversation on EHTV. Is there anything you wanted to finish off with in this conversation, though, Dennis, before we jump over to part 2?
Yep, absolutely. I think there is a little kind of catchphrase, and the catchphrase might be, it's something called a depopulation agenda, and I cannot wait to get stuck into that one on a platform in another place where I'm not going to be censored. So if you want to hear my thoughts on that, feel free to jump on over.
Awesome. And if you guys like this video, please just like it again, subscribe to the channel, and if you want to get notified on the next videos, click the little bell icon. Otherwise, we'll see you in part 2 on EHTV. Bye for now. Thanks so much, Dennis.
Thank you.